here with Boomerocity, and I've got a special treat for you. It's with a tribute artist. You know, I don't do a lot of tribute artists, but occasionally I will, and I love talking to the best of the best. And as you may recall, a few months ago, I talked to three different Elvis tribute artists, and this time I'm talking to one of the best of the Neil Diamond tribute artists. And he's got a very unique story. He's very personally connected to a cause that his show is raising money for. And I want you to hear all about it in this interview. His name is David Jacobson out of Long Island, New York. And this guy, and when I was made aware of him, I did my due diligence and checked out some of the video on his shows, and the guy's great. He really is. If you like Neil Diamond, you're really going to like David's work here. And to hear him tell it in this interview, it gets better every day. So even what you see on YouTube, it's going to be a lot better than what you see there. So keep an eye on what we're talking about. And get this, next year, 2026, he's doing a 50th anniversary commemorative show marking the 50th anniversary of Neil Diamond's Love at the Greek. And he's got a lot to share about that, a lot of insight into what goes on into his shows and that type of thing. It really is a fascinating interview, if I do say so myself. As always, I ask that you hit like while you're watching this. It helps us out, as well as become a subscriber. I'm not charging you for it. At this time, I don't have any kind of super duper deals where you can pay a premium to get other stuff. This is just straightforward interviews I do for the fun of it, and I think you guys are enjoying it, or you wouldn't be here watching this right now. So just hit subscribe. It's free, and that helps us out a lot. So without any further ado, here's my first interview with David Jacobson, and I sure hope I get to talk to him a lot more in the future. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hello, David.
How are you?
Oh, there you go. Hey, how you doing, David?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Very good, very good. Where are you clicking in from?
What's that?
Where are you clicking in from?
From New York, Long Island.
Ah, I've got friends there. Good deal.
Whereabouts?
I'm not sure. I've only been to New York a couple times, and so I don't know where. You know, it's like Tennessee. I'm sure you hear somebody hears Long Island, they think you know everybody there. In the same way here in Tennessee,
Oh, yeah,
they don't
yeah,
realize how big it is. So,
So you, so you're in Tennessee, okay?
yep, Sevierville up in the Smoky Mountains, a couple
Oh,
miles up the road from Dollywood. So,
beautiful. Probably really nice, right?
oh yeah, yeah, the leaves just right at the peak and about
Oh,
ready to be down for the winter. So,
beautiful, beautiful. Well, nice to
very,
meet you.
very good. Very good. Well, man, well, thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate this. I've been
Of
a Neil
course.
Diamond fan since I was in high school back in the
Ah,
70s. So I'm looking forward to this chat, man.
well, I've been looking forward to it as well.
Good deal. Well, before we dive into your show, I would like for you to give viewers, this is being recorded for, later posting. I'd like for you to give viewers a quick snapshot of your background, what led you to the stage, and ultimately to channeling the great Neil Diamond.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifelong musician. Um, Play the guitar, a little bit of piano, but it was never a great at anything as far as being a musician. I have a son who's in my band who is the gifted one musically, and a daughter as well. But I have some other gifts that I hopefully brought to the table. But the my history is in business. I have I owned a couple of companies over the years. Have been blessed to be able to build a couple of companies and sell them, and a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always been creative in coming up with new ideas and different things that solve some problems for people, whether it be it happens to be in the automotive industry, a website and a ability for people to finance vehicles through credit unions, and then a collector car auction, which a company I sold recently. So I've been blessed in that way, and but I've always had music throughout all of the years of my business. I've always had a passion for music, and I've always had something that I've done over the years that was a little bit more substantial than just your average, casual situation. For instance, I did I worked with the Long Island Philharmonic. I put a song together for 9/11 that was called the Hero Bells Ring. And I did that with a 51 piece orchestra in front of like
Wow.
15,000 people. And I sang it with a woman who sang backup. And the song is just, for those people that write music know that song came to me in 20 minutes. It was a response to the September 11th attack. And so it was from 2001, I wrote the song and I performed it a few times. That was one of them. And then I did a country concert. I'm not really a country artist, but I do have a little bit of a love for that music and storytelling. So the point is that I've had these things over the years that I've done. In fact, this year, the Hero Bells Ring is going to be redone by my band now that I have a band over the last few years, and we're going to really redo it. And we're going to release it at the 25th anniversary, unfortunately, of 9/11 as a tribute to the first responders and for people that lost their loved ones. So you'll be hearing that hopefully in the next. But it will hold it off until that time, but we're going to be getting that together in the next few months. So that's been my musical background, and then this came about from a little bit of a casual conversation. I'm playing a little bit of music with a friend of mine. Hey, you sound like Neil Diamond. I've heard that over my many, many years. And, I don't really try. It's just we have the same tone, I guess. And I was never a major Neil Diamond fan growing up. I did appreciate his music. And then many years ago, I saw him live in Jones Beach in New York. And his live performances are really special. They really are special. But anyway, well, I guess we'll get into that. But I really found a joy in singing the Neil Diamond music. And then that was about 3 years ago. And then it just kept building and building. And here we are today.
Wow, that's magnificent. What back to the 9/11, I didn't plan on getting onto that, but because I didn't know that about you, but did you have any friends or anybody that perished in 9/11?
Well, a friend of mine's brother was a firefighter, and there always is people. If you're in New York, there's always somebody you either know directly or somebody through someone that has lost somebody. This was somebody that lost his brother, and so that's kind of makes it surreal, But it was a very difficult time. It brought everyone together, unlike the craziness going on in New York now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how far we've fallen since having to be so close together in New York is with that tragedy. So, but yeah, indirectly, a few people.
I at the time I worked for a company called Nortel Networks, and I guess from what I'm told from some of our engineers at the time, they're no longer in business. It's a shame they wound up going bankrupt. They were a 100-plus-year-old
Mm,
company with ties back to well, the roots were with Alexander Graham Bell.
well,
And apparently, we had it was our switching gear, phone switching gear, that was down in the basements of the Twin Towers that were, that handled all the calls inside those buildings. And I'm told when they got down to the switch, those switches were still up and running, meaning they were on and waiting for calls to go off hook or to come in. Of course, there were no calls to do that, but a lot of the guys that were tied into all that, it affected them indirectly because they were tied to those projects. And um, it just, I mean, like you said, though, I'm stunned to see how relatively soon we forget. We were so
well,
unified then and we're so divided now. It's just doesn't even seem possible.
there are people in New York, the young people that you have to remember that weren't born. They were born 10 years after that are now 13 years old, and they were
Yeah.
born 10 years after that. It's kind of like us, trying to remember back. Like we weren't around in World War II, we weren't around like like speaking for myself is or even the Vietnam War or
Hmm.
stuff like that. It just seems so surreal that that even happened. And I guess for them it is. But in this world, there's no struggle anymore. These kids don't struggle over anything, so they forget everything. We're in a bad time. We're in a tough time right now. Which is kind of one of the reasons, believe it or not, that this music is so important to me because it does take these people and give them the joy that used to exist,
Yeah.
musically, emotionally, passion. It is more important personally for me to do these performances for these people now than it has ever been, ever. And that's one of the joys that we get out of doing this is because of how difficult things are right now.
Well, yeah, similarly, I'm a baby boomer. I just turned 66 last month, and I do what I do to keep, let people know the artists that we grew up listening to and loving, that they're still relevant. There's a
Yeah.
reason why their music back then still has legs today, and why, just to let them know. I mean, kind of in a half joking way, why years from now, when the younger generations are my age, they'll still be listening to our music and they won't remember what their youth, the music of their youth even was, So, but man, that's what a story you have there. What do you remember? Which Neil Diamond song kind of got you and said, "Yeah, I think I could do this. This could be a lot of fun. This guy's something special here."
Well, when people ask me what's my favorite song, that's one question. But what got me into it, I think believe it or not, it was his charisma and his live performance. As I mentioned, growing up hearing Neil Diamond music, yes, I listened to it, I heard it on the radio, but again, it wasn't. If I was going to buy an album or put on something, it wasn't Neil Diamond when I was younger. But
Right.
but however, when I saw him live, I got it. It's unbelievable. It really is. And that's one of the things we're most proud is that bringing that energy and that excitement, that passion, that love to the live performance is really the key because anyone can play a Neil Diamond song and even do it well and even maybe even sound like him, but it's that emotion when people have tears in their eyes when you're performing because it's bringing them back to that day when that maybe a concert they went to or an emotion they felt at the time when they were younger. So yeah, it's very interesting that dynamic.
I know for me, you know, I guess the first Neil Diamond song I remember hearing wasn't recorded by him. Is actually a live version of Sweet Caroline done by Elvis. I was raised on Elvis. This was the first concert I ever went to, and as a teenager, and so for me, getting turned on to him was directly as the artist himself. Was spent the summer oddly. And I grew up in Phoenix, born here in Tennessee, but I spent a summer in here in Tennessee, summer after my freshman year, and my cousin had one of my cousins had the Hot August Night 8 tracks of all things. And man, I that turned me on. And I when I got home that at the end of the summer, I bought the vinyl,
Great
and
album.
wore it out, man.
Great
Oh my
album.
goodness,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And a great concert.
Was
That was one of his first concerts at the Greek Theater, as a matter of fact. We're doing our Love at the Greek, but the Greek Theater was where he did the Hot August
Hot
Night
August
album.
Night. Yeah,
Yeah.
the tree people. He was talking about the tree people out in the audience.
Did you see my post?
No,
That is crazy that you just said that. I posted yesterday. I posted what Neil Diamond said. He goes, I'm singing to you also. I'm singing to you too. I'm singing for you too. I posted it yesterday on my Instagram account, which was talking about the tree people. And it says, and it actually says that now the tree people, here's another chance for you because
there you go.
we're doing our show at that same theater on the same stage. And I referenced the tree people. That is so wild. I never heard
Yeah,
that. And then I researched the other day and you just brought it up. That's so cool.
I didn't know that. Yeah, he goes, "Are you still there, tree people?" Because he's talking to him from the stage. Yeah, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
But what? Let's talk about the show itself. Neil Forever. How did that concept? How did the concept for the show come about? What drove you on that one?
Well, the show, the band, like I said, sounding like Neil and having to do the music. I'm a little bit of a nut job when it comes to being a perfectionist. Like it would have been very fine when we started to do a couple bars, to do some local stuff. But I have a major problem in trying to make whatever I'm doing get the most out of it, be the best we can. And listen, we're a tribute band. We are someone that plays the music of an original artist, and I like to keep it real because I know that's who we are. Okay. However, our goal is to be as big and reach as many people as we possibly can at the biggest theaters we can, doing the tribute act, the tribute show. And that's why we
Hmm.
kind of went into the bigger theaters, and we've been doing that now. We're playing some pretty tremendous theaters, pretty exciting stuff to go into 2026. But the goal really is just to put together, originally to put together a nice little Neil Diamond tribute that kind of just kept going and going and going. So there was no plan. Like this was never planned out from the beginning. I'm going to start a Neil Diamond tribute band. It was just we did it. Then we did a local show at my business. We actually had friends and family here, and we were rough. We were rough, man. I'm not kidding. It wasn't really great. The horns. We were rough, and but they had a good time. And then we made some changes in the band. And we got better and better and better. And quite frankly, we continue the growth. We continue to strive to be better at what we do. And it's a work in progress, but there was really never, the plan is still going on. There was never a plan here, and that's why we're doing the Greek theater now, because that's the epitome of what we can ever ask for, is playing on the stage, same stage as Neil did at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, and that's how bold we are. Sometimes I'm like, are we crazy? Why would we do that? Because there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh, that's sacred ground. You don't want to do that, but we want to celebrate him. We really do. And then
Yeah.
we also have the Parkinson's disease charity, which I guess we'll talk about that, but
Hmm.
which is very close to my heart for reasons that you may or may not know, but we could talk about that separately.
Um, what, in your opinion, and I've not seen a Neil Diamond tribute act yet. I think I saw an impersonator at a Nortel sales conference in Vegas once, and quite frankly, I didn't think he was all that good. Now I've watched the videos of you. I don't just blindly take on somebody to interview. You know, if I'm going to tout you, I want to be able to say, you really should check this guy out. And I can say that about your
Oh,
act
thank you.
because I've watched the videos. You are remarkably close, very, very close to Neil's sound. And so I mean, I'm jealous that you're not coming through East Tennessee for me to be able to see you. But from the standpoint of being a tribute artist for of Neil Diamond's, what do you feel makes your act stand out above or differently from the other tribute acts and legacy shows that salute Neil Diamond?
Well, that is the ultimate question. It's a great question, and I try to be careful when I say this because there's a lot of great people doing some great stuff with Neil Diamond. But I kind of think there's three categories. I think one of them is caricature. Forget the impersonation. That's kind of like that impersonating, putting the wig on and doing that stuff, like Elvis impersonator, which some of them are very good. But to me, there's three categories. You have like a caricature, someone that tries to sound like Neil because he has a lot of a lot of the whining sounds, and
Mm-hmm.
if you do it the wrong way, it can be kind of scary. But so there are the caricatures, and then there are the versions like um, Super Diamond, who people are probably familiar with. They've been around for a long time, which is a five-person band that does like a rock version, and they're fantastic. And you have that. And then you have ones of us, which is we strive to be as authentic as possible in every way. People say, why do you have four horns? Why do you have two or three female backup vocalists? Why do you need a percussion player? Why, you know what I'm saying? And the answer is because, and it's overkill. And people have said to us, you could travel with less people and you'll wind up making more money, or you can actually say yes to some gigs that you can't say yes to because we're too expensive to move around the country. But that's what I meant about me being a little crazy is I really believe that our goal is to be authentic as we can. I truly love the music. I truly love him on stage. Personally, for me, I think people will all agree that there's an absolute, genuine, authentic presentation and the way that I feel about the music. It's real, it's genuine. There's no playing, no art, there's no fooling around with that. The musicians come as close to like what we did was, I don't want to bore your audience, but there's a lot of ways to start this, right? Like we learned Neil's music from the LP versions, which means the original versions that he did in the 70s and 80s, late 60s. We played those versions first. I didn't go after the newer versions when what Neil did in the 90s when he started singing less and talking his words. It was really the vintage Neil Diamond inflections in the voice and that stuff. I said over and over and over. So to me, that's what it's very authentic. So from there, then we learned to his newer music. So he combined that authentic bass line of his real music, the way he intended it to be. And then we took the modern versions, the way he performed it on stage to get some of the charisma and some of the changes and the excitement of more of a modern performance that people need today to pay attention. It can't be as sleepy as it was in 1969 because people are
Right.
different, right? So we combined, we started there, we kind of went there, and then we added a little bit of us. Not much, not much. When I say a little bit of us, we didn't want to take away from Neil's presentation, but we are individuals, we are, our own people. So, there are some things that I do that's me, and there are some things that the band will do that's very, very unique to Neil forever. But that was what we've done. We wanted to be so out of those categories, we really strive to be the most authentic. And I think we really, really nailed it. It gets better every day. And I will tell you, 2026, this tour that is the Love It the Greek tour is a completely different level than what we did. In fact, I'm almost embarrassed for people to see videos of us on YouTube and on our Facebook page because it's not who we are anymore. It's like I haven't gotten a video made in 4 to 6 months. So whatever people see is not who we are now. It's really gone to a different level, if that makes sense, because we're always
No, it
growing,
does.
always evolving, and we're getting better and better at what we do, which is what we should be doing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, when audiences come to your show, whether it's your current one or the one for next year, what what kind of experience can they expect? Would it be more concert? Would it be more storytelling? Would it be a mix of both? What can they expect?
Yeah, you must host a podcast because your questions are right on, they're very poignant, very good questions. It's things that I would want to know. That's another great question in the sense that you can't see. I went to see some Neil Diamond acts, and I walked away after seeing a couple of them, and I was like, too much talking, not enough talking. Tries to sound like Neil too much, very annoying. Or wow, this guy sounds like just all different emotions.
Hmm.
So I don't, there's no right answer. It depends who's doing it. Like me personally, I think it's very important that people get some of the story because Neil
Yep.
Diamond is interesting. From his days at the beginning, moving to Los Angeles, with his interview with Barbara Walters, to Australian interviews and England, the Irish interviews, and on and on and on. And his stories are really interesting, and that needs to be told. Why songs have been written, and the background behind. Some people really want to know that, and other people who didn't know they want to know that are happy they heard it if you do it the right way. But other
Hmm.
people, if it's not done the right way, are like, just play the next song. So I have a problem of thinking too much of what people want, and it's a curse and a blessing, I guess, because I do care what people think, but I also sometimes just do it, and you can be risky, and people may like it. So the point is I think there's a good balance between talking about the songs, telling a little bit of a story, because Neil was a storyteller. He used to tell stories, but before songs, like when he did Coming to America, I think it was Australia. I forget where it was. He talked about his grandmother, coming to America. He talked about her and her trip to the U.S., America, and what it meant to him. And then he talked about stories. It was just really amazing. So what I do is like with I'm a Believer or American Bandstand was the first time he was on there with his song A Solitary Man, which was his first big hit. So that's nice for people to know that before Solitary Man, that this was really his first big international hit. And the
Mhm.
fact that it was on American Bandstand, which most of the audience can relate to, although if they don't, that's the separation between the young and the older, is that, do you know American Bandstand? Yes or no. So it's interesting to me, and I love that dynamic out there for the young people as well. So and then going from one song into another transitions, are they done right? You can't talk too much. So I guess at the end of the day, um, I will stop talking if I feel the audience wants more music. I have enough stories in my mind to share what I think is relevant. Does that make sense? You
Yeah,
know,
it does.
so it's there's no right or wrong answer, but I think it's very, very important to find the right mix and not talk too much where you bore people or not talk enough where they're like, okay, this was just like listening to the music one after another. I wanted to hear
Yeah.
some stories, and because most people come into a Neil Diamond concert have some type of emotional, investment in wanting to see him. They're coming for a reason,
Hmm.
and they want to feel, and I
They
think it's
want to
our job.
remember too. They
We
want
want
to
to,
harken back. So
yeah, I think that's our
uh,
job.
two Neil Diamond stories for me. I've never seen him in concert. I've solicited interviews back before I knew he had Parkinson's. But I was working on the Walmart account with Nortel in Northwest Arkansas, and one of the presidents were coming through. I don't want to get political, so I'll keep it neutral. And it was going to be held in the hangar of Tyson, Tyson Foods. And so we get there way ahead of time. We're in the hangar waiting for the president to show up to do his speech. And Air Force One lands, comes around, pulls right up to the hangar to the sounds of Neil Diamond's America. And David, Pee Wee Herman could have stepped off of Air Force One, and the goosebumps would have still been there.
Hmm.
Some people might have thought that that was Pee Wee Herman for president, depending on how they felt about a particular president. But it was just the majesty. That song, when you put it up against the symbol of Air Force One, Neil got it, man. He captured the essence of being a naturalized citizen, and it should instill in us as natural born citizens here that, hey, this is America, man. It's great. We can't forget. And the second story I have is I had the privilege of interviewing Lucy Arnaz, who starred with
Yeah.
him in the jazz singer, and just the things she had to say about him, just such a warmth, how he made her feel in working together in that movie and all that. So that's as close as I got to Neil interview wise. But boy, even if had to be off the record, I'd love to just sit and talk to the man. He's, like you said, the stories he has to tell are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a gentle spirit. That's one of the things that I always liked about him in interviews, and what probably um, Arnez, what's her first name again?
Lucy,
Lucy Arnez?
yeah, Lucille Ball's daughter.
Yeah, no, no, I know who she is, but it was Lucy Arnez. Yeah, yeah, she was Lucy
Yeah,
also, right?
yeah,
Lucy Arnez, who again, he played his manager, right, in the Jazz Singer. And
yes.
what you said about her, she really was fond of him. He was a very gentle spirit, and he came across that way, and I could see him being very likable. And as far
Yeah.
as coming to America is concerned, it is one of my favorite times of the night. Singing that song, we have this big screen behind us in most of the shows, if they have one, and we have a produced video, and it's got the red, white, and blue, and the sparkles, and
Wow.
it's very beautiful. And the joy of singing that song is exactly what you're just. It's such a great, great song. It's one of the great songs of all time. It really is. Not just to sing, but to see people's reaction. It's
Yeah.
so much going on with the horns and the power and the. It's great, great song.
What's the hardest part of becoming Neil on stage? I know some people. I've interviewed Elvis tribute artists, and they have their thing, their little stick they go through to be able to kind of get into the vibe and the spirit of it. Of course, they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars for the stage outfits and that kind of thing. But for you personally, what's the hardest part of becoming Neil on stage?
You know, the for me personally, the hardest part is me being hard on myself that I want to come across because again, it's very difficult for someone to go on stage and not feel goofy trying to be somebody else. So I always have a choice. When I go on stage, am I going to go out there letting people think that I think I'm Neil? Or am I going out there as an impersonator? Or am I going out there like when I walk? I'll give you for instance, and some of the people that are going to watch this, I may shoot myself in the foot here because they'll see this when they come to one of the shows. When that first moment happens, when I walk on stage, it's very difficult for me because it's not me. Like I'm going on there as myself, David Jacobson, but I am going on there representing and being, I'm Neil Diamond to them, or at least trying to be, right? So when they start cheering, like when I walk out on stage without singing a note, it happens all the time. They're so excited. They think Neil's coming to the stage and they know it's not, but they're hopeful. They're hopeful maybe he is Neil. And I don't, and I come on stage and there's that couple of seconds where they start to cheer. And I get very personally awkward in myself. That's like, it's kind of almost like, well, I don't even, there's a word for this. Um, but it's like I feel awkward. But then I've learned to accept it and take it in, like show business. Like when actors do
Mhm.
an act, they're not sitting there going acting like something and go, people are going to know. They're going to know I'm not really acting. I mean, I'm acting. I'm not really that part. But that's not true. People don't want to hear that. They don't want me to come up. They don't want me to come out on stage and be a little iffy. They want me to feel confident and be out there as if I'm Neil.
They
And
want you to be believable.
thank you for lack of a better. They want me to be believable. And it took me a while to get over that because I'm very self-conscious. I do
Mhm.
worry about the experience for the people. And now I go on stage and I accept it. I take the applause the way they should be taken. It's not about, they don't even know me. I didn't even say yet. So they're not saying you're wonderful. They're saying we're happy to be here. Give us what we
Yeah.
came for. So I put that in perspective. And for me, that was a very hard thing for me to do is to walk out that first couple of seconds and be there and be in the moment and give them what they came for. And that has helped me start off singing better and the performances. But that's what I meant about we're always a work in progress. There's a lot more than just learning the songs. It's truly being a performer and giving these people, which Neil was so good at it. And he was so genuine and so authentic that I have to be or I will fail. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. I think from the videos I've seen, I think it comes across from the stage to the audience and across through the cameras as well. I think too, when you're talking about how the audience reacts when you first come out on stage, I think so much of audience appreciation these days have a lot to do with losing the privilege of going to shows during COVID. And I've talked to a lot of artists about this, and it's just like, yeah, there's this renewed appreciation of the privilege of going out to seeing live entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like I go to a lot of concerts, I get to talk to a lot of artists, and it hasn't wavered so far. I mean, pre-COVID, everybody was kind of jaded, maybe even a little entitled, and now it's like, man, we're glad we're glad to see at least another show because we don't know if it's going to stop tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it depends on where in the country you are, because what you're saying is absolutely true. We started this after COVID, and it's gotten the whole tribute world. It's so popular and big right now because, for obvious reasons, the age of the viewer, the bands are not as accessible. They can't really sing anymore. So it's really the
Hmm.
perfect storm. This is the first time, and probably the last time in the history of our world, that these tribute will be this big because eventually the people that care are going to go on and the new
Hmm.
music is not really relevant to a tribute. It doesn't make any sense to have a tribute for a lot of the new music. So this is a very
Right.
special time, and they should take advantage of it. People should feel that way and be like, "Let me get the most out of this." But at the same token, there is a tremendous amount of choices out there. Like we have some theaters around here. There's a tribute act 2 days a week, 52 weeks a year, every band. And then when you go about 40 miles away, there's another tribute band every 2 weeks. So there's a lot of tributes out there, and people have to decide what they want to see. Even Neil Diamond, there's a local guy who does very well around here. He's booked around the country, does great. There's another guy who started that does a nice job. So we're in crowded company, and there's probably a good I say 7 to 10 years when this is going to be really important. And then it's
Yeah.
going to start to wane off a little bit. But so it's competitive. And tribute bands there's a lot of them. And that's why we want to separate ourselves. When people come to our concert, when I hear what they say when it's over, is the motion, the feeling, the excitement in their face or the tears. I've had all kinds of people come to me afterwards say such wonderful things about what we've given them. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Have you met Neil or heard from him or his people relative to how you're doing on your show?
So no, at this point, our timing is bad. All right, because a lot of these guys like Jay White, and some of the other guys who have been doing it 40 years, one guy for 25 years. Neil's been to their concerts. They have pictures with him on their websites. And Neil, with me, no, he was already 2018. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and it's 2025 now. So he
Yeah.
he stopped performing way before we started this band, and he's not traveling. And so we have, I'm very upset about his illness. Again, my father died with Parkinson's, so it's very close to my heart and very sensitive to me. But so he has not been out there like he would have been for me to have a chance to meet him. However, with the Greek Theater show that's going to be coming up, we're doing this 50th anniversary. There's a few things that I'm coming up with. We're trying to get Neil to sign a guitar for us to give away. We
Mm,
have a connection to him and I'm sure he'll do that. So we're gonna have two guitars signed, and auction them
nice.
off for Parkinson's. 100% of that money will go to Parkinson's, and also I'm hoping that I will be the one to bring them to him. And this has not been locked in yet. I don't want to make any claims, and I surely don't want to
Understood.
put pressure on his family because I know they're going through a time right now. They don't need, to do this stuff. But I want to go there and just, I said, even for 2 minutes to shake his hand, say hello, because what we're doing with his music and his history, I would love to be able to meet him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I really
Yeah.
would. And it would be so important to me. I would fly to Colorado. I believe in Colorado, and just I would go on my dime, bring a cup of coffee, spend 3 minutes, and that would
Oh,
be
that'd
good
be
enough.
great.
That'd be good enough for me. That'd be good. So we're trying
I,
to figure that out.
you said how kind and gentle he is. I know that when I reached out to him, it's been a few years ago, right before the announcement of, no, I take that back. It was right after the announcement of him suffering from Parkinson's. I reached out to his management and said, look, it'd be an honor, obviously, and I'll give you guys veto and editorial rights over whatever I put out. I won't put it out unless you're happy with it and all
Sure.
that. And they were nice enough to actually write back. I mean, I tell people, in the beginning when I started this, I kind of rejected a lot.
Oh yeah.
Now I count it a mark of success to be rejected politely and gently. And Neil's people were like that, but they were so nice about it. They said he would love to, but blah blah blah, and I'm sure they get a lot of requests,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's his gentleness, I think, permeates through his management team, which is not always the case with artists. There's some people where the artists are very nice and gracious, and the people around them are jerks. I've experienced it, But
Yeah.
on do you find that I'm sure you have a routine that you go through to get into Neil mode. Have you ever caught yourself out off stage, like maybe in the grocery store or something, and start humming "Sweet Caroline" or anything like that, and then you kind of go, "Oh, wait a minute,
Oh
I'm at Publix," So
yeah. Yeah. No, it wouldn't be Sweet Caroline, but I'll tell you what happens. It's happening right now. All right. So for the new show, a little bit of news here. We're actually, because we're doing the Greek Theater Love at the Greek show, we're doing the exact beginning of his show, which started with Street Life. We're
yeah,
doing, we're
yeah,
doing, I mean, and when the version we
that's a
do,
rocker.
it's a rocker. And I'm telling you right now, people that come to the show are going to lose their minds. The band nailed this. It is so incredible. So I walk around, I have to learn the lyrics. And one of my biggest problems, people that know me, is I can't remember my name, let alone the lyrics to all the songs.
I feel your pain.
So I have sung Street Life, and we were also adding Beautiful Noise to our
Mm.
repertoire for this show, which was done also at the Greek Theater. I didn't know that Beautiful Noise was a song that was around in the early 70s, but it was. So very exciting to me. So we're learning these two new songs, and I am singing these songs probably I do it in the shower every morning. I put my Alexa on really loud, and I play it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I have a routine. I've done this probably for about 55 days every single morning, singing the songs probably 10 times each. When I leave that, my brain is programmed. So I walk around all day singing Street Life, Life in the City. I don't even know I'm doing it. My son looks at me, he goes, "Would you stop?" Because it happens all day long. And somebody says, "What song are you singing?" I know it's Neil Diamond, but what song are you singing? So yes, when I'm getting into learning a song and I hear it a lot, I'm singing it all the time. I'm humming it. I'm doing it in my head, and some of it's coming out a little bit. So yes, it drives people crazy around me. Is I'm in that learning mode for sure. But I don't sing Sweet Caroline. That I don't do. And I don't do a lot of the more popular songs because they're already embedded here, and but the new stuff, and I love Street Life, and I love Beautiful. I never liked Beautiful Noise. I cannot wait to do that live. It is spectacular. So much to learn with the horns, such a crazy happening song. But yeah, I hum them, I drive people crazy with that for sure.
What do you think Neil's music connects so deeply with baby boomers? You know, especially baby boomers, probably not 100% or just baby boomers, but what is it about Neil's music that you think connects to us so deeply?
Um, Well, a few things. First of all, I think that timing, in life, like when you hear some songs, the world goes through different phases, right? Sometimes
Mm.
we're more uh, mushy. Sometimes we're strong. I mean, whether there's war or whether there's peace or whether there's, politically or what just the world, it's just the way and I think music tells a story about all of our lives, right? And I think Neil's music throughout the years has done the same thing. When you look at songs like Sweet Caroline, what that was written about was, Kennedy's daughter, Sweet Caroline. She saw her in a newspaper article and wrote the song. And actually, it was supposed to be about his girlfriend, Marcia, I believe it was. But that wasn't three syllables. He had to come up with a three-syllable word. And he looked at the paper, and it
I'm,
was Caroline. That's really what it was.
I'm
So,
sure that got him in trouble with Marsha. So,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, maybe the story was at that time. Maybe he kept it a secret. I don't know. But there's a lot beyond that too. But I think believe it or not, poignant to what I was saying before, is his lyrics are very odd. When you look at a lot of them, they really don't make sense. Like when you look at Cracklin' Rosie, that's about a bottle of wine. You know what I mean? Back, without telling the story now, I don't want to bore people with it. But and then you go down like Forever in Blue Jeans and all these things. Like when you listen to the words, it's like what? He was more like, in fact, in the song Holly Holy, one of the things Neil said when he wrote the song is he goes, "Please don't listen to the lyrics, feel the vibe." And
mm,
that was exactly what he said in an interview, and you can see it on YouTube. And that's probably true of a lot of his music. Feel it, feel the music with the lyric, feel it. They don't just listen to what I wrote because it may not make sense. And I think that when you combine that feeling with his live performances, like I said before, there's magic there that is so special. It's so special in its different way than a lot of other artists. Like when you look at Barry Manilow, it's very lyrical. I can't smile without you, or the on and on and on. I went to a concert recently with Barry Manilow, and he's unbelievable as a songwriter, one after another after another.
yep.
But the words just make sense. It's just a story, or it's, I love you. Where did you go? You know, Neil Diamond, go look at the lyrics to Neil Diamond songs. You'll be like, what? What?
It's
What
like
does he
some
say?
Beatles songs. It's like obla di obla da. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's strange in its own way, but with Neil, it's the whole
Yeah.
lyric. I mean, when you look at I was just gonna say something about us. Oh yeah, crunchy granola. Okay, you know the
Yeah,
song "Chicken All Sweet."
yeah,
A
yeah, yeah.
rocking song, and
It's on
people,
it's on Hot August night. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and we play that. It's a powerful song, and we play that song, and it the words like what, crunchy granola sweet. It's just he was trying to tell his story with his words in a very very interesting way, but it worked because of the way he performed it live, and that's when I fell in love with his music. Is when I saw him live, is when I really started to appreciate it. It's like this formula of making an ingredients to a cake. If you leave one ingredient out, it's okay. If you leave more than a couple out, it's going to taste horrendous. But if you put all the ingredients in, like live performance, words, passion, it's beautiful. And that's one of the things that he did that is special about him.
There's a lot of artists I went to see that I thought, yeah, I'm not excited about seeing them. But didn't you see them live? Didn't you come
Absolutely.
back and you listen to the studio albums again and you hear those songs
Yeah.
completely different than you did before? I mean, favorite story is Toto. Gosh,
Oh,
I appreciated him. But then, I interviewed Steve Lukather a bunch of times and all that, and I've seen him in concert several times. And to this
wow.
day, when I hear Africa or any of the other songs they've
Unbelievable.
done, I hear it differently than I did before. So,
Yeah. And musically, they're just fantastic.
oh, they're maniacs.
As good as it
They
gets.
really are.
It's as good as it gets. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. If so, set aside a concert set list just for a moment. So, because otherwise, this question won't make any sense.
Hmm?
If if Neil himself were going to come to one of your shows, which song would you want him to hear you sing first to kind of get him to like, okay, I can sit and listen to the rest of the show. Yeah.
Well, the song that I think he would appreciate us doing, me singing the most, would be "I Am I Said," because I think
Mm.
we catch the emotion in that song that is brings tears to people's eyes, and I feel it when I sing it because I feel like, listen, I hate to say this. Not hate to say this. It's odd. Neil and I, although I'm more of more of an outgoing, I'm not going to say aggressive personality, but some people would say, but he's very soft. He's like my son. They're very, very sweet spirited. But there's a lot of like, being a solitary man and being like, I have a lot of, issues like a lot of people in this world do, that Neil over the years, when he talks, I'm like, I can relate to that. So
Hmm.
when I sing some of his songs, I'm really connecting, with a lot of his songs, and I really feel them, and they come out in this way that's very authentic. So, I said, I think he would really feel the emotion the way he intended it to, which I think would touch him, and I think that would be really nice. But I also believe, man, oh man, I can go. There's a lot of songs. It's a good question, but I have to tell you, coming to America, we catch that with the Holly Holy Salvation Show, traveling Salvation Show. We really capture it. And so I can't pick a song that I would say if I had to pick one song that I wanted Neil to hear that we do. It may be "I Am I Said," but the more I think about it, there'd be a bunch of them. That would be very
To
joyful to me.
to me, how he did that on Hot August night, then you know comes off stage, or goes off stage, comes back on and does the song from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and then the Brother Loves. And man, when I first heard that, I had headphones on, and then he comes out and does the whole preacher thing. I
Oh yeah,
mean, that just parts your hair right down the middle. Back
yeah,
when I had more hair, but it was just
yeah.
amazing. I mean, and then after that, man, you can't listen to that without dialing it to 10. You know,
Totally, totally. Yes, yeah.
so you're raising money for Parkinson's. Tell people about that.
So, as I said before, my dad died about 13 years ago now with
Mm.
Parkinson's, and Neil Diamond was diagnosed in 2018. So it's been something that's been close to my heart for many many years since my dad. But about over the last 2 years, there was a woman from California whose name is Deb Pollock, who heads up an organization. I was in the automotive collector car industry. Like I love collector cars and automobiles, and I had it's part of my passion of my life. And Turns out that I met this woman, Deb, in that world. So we know each other for years regarding the automotive world. And she one day reached out to me and she said, "Listen, we're doing a fundraiser for Parkinson." She had no idea about my dad at this point, and I would love to take some of your Neil Diamond music and play it at our event because it's so wonderful and it would be so appropriate. So I was like, "Okay, sure." I said I gave her a couple of videos and she played them, and then it turns out that maybe a couple of months later, I said, we did a few things with that. She was raising money for Parkinson's, and I was thinking that I want to get involved with some type of Parkinson's charity and so forth. And we were going to do this show at the Greek Theater. And I said, one of the things that I want to do when we do this show is to raise money for Parkinson's, because we can raise a substantial amount of money here. And I reached out to her and I said, this is ironic that we're meeting. And then she explained to me that her mom died with Parkinson's, which is why she
Wow.
started. So my dad, her mom, Neil, I said, this is like almost divine intervention here. And I've been looking to do
Hmm.
something to give back and let the band have more of a purpose than just playing music, which we
Right.
do with really giving people joy and stuff, but something more tangible. And um, so I told her we're going to do the show. If you want to jump on board with me, she's in California. The show's in California. I said, let's get on board some sponsors and let's get some stuff done together, and we can donate, a massive amount of the proceeds to, the to your organization. And it's a 501c3 charity. It's all the money would go to the appropriate use. She said, absolutely. We had some meetings. We talked about it. I brought on an agent here in New York who happens to be a cousin who is a promoter. Who, in fact, Jamie.
Who?
Do you know Jamie? Jamie Roberts?
I've been dealing with her to set this
Okay, all
up.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. For some reason, so Jamie has gotten me on a few podcasts, and then as we go towards the show, Jamie's going to we're going to be doing LA. We're going to be going into LA like
Mm.
for a week and doing a lot of shows, maybe some big TV shows and stuff like that as we get really into this. But anyway, so I brought Jamie on, and then she has a couple of people working with her in California. This Deb, and so at the end of the day, we decided to make this about everything that you know of, Love at the Greek, Neil
Mhm.
Diamond, the 50th anniversary of the Love at the Greek concert at the Greek Theater, and and we will be raising money for Parkinson's with her organization.
Very cool.
That's the way it should. So you'll see her. It's called Drive Toward a Cure. You'll see it on a lot of almost all of our social media stuff when a good amount of it, and that's going to be the beneficiary of a good part of what we collect.
Very, very good. I
Yes.
think that is amazing. I as I get older, and I'm sure you feel the same way, you lost your parents, your mom, your dad, several years ago. I just lost mine a week ago.
Wow.
And when
Sorry
they
to hear
go
that.
through things, you start identifying with, wow, I want to do something that will help make that better. I want to, so someone else doesn't have to go through it quite
Yeah.
as bad as we did. And Dad didn't have Parkinson's, but so I can connect, not to make
Yeah.
this about me and my family, but I can connect with, and what you're saying resonates with me, and I think that's amazing. I really do. That's I hope you guys exceed your expectations on the fundraising. On
Yes.
another slightly related note, you mentioned the car thing. You got to come to Pigeon Forge one of these times when they have Rod Run. You will see every conceivable collectible car, a lot of junk, but mostly great stuff. You know, 50s, 60s, 70s era cars,
This is by
all of that.
you.
And
This is by
yeah,
you.
here in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, up in the Smokies. And maybe you can book a show at, I don't know if there's a venue quite big enough. We've got two theaters that are closed right now, but maybe you could pick up a rental on it and book your own gigs there and be part of the show or something. I mean, they come from all over the country here, and
Oh,
so
oh,
you
that's
might
listen.
enjoy that.
That's what and that's the demographic, right? The guys that will be into hot rods. It's more of an older
Hmm.
audience. Perfect. That'll be something to talk about if there's any interest there for
Yeah,
sure.
they do it twice a year. This year it was April and September, and I
Yeah,
think it's always around those two times a year.
yeah.
I mean, the place gets close to gridlocked here, and but it's so much fun. I would take Dad out to show, and he would look for his
Yeah,
'57 Chevys that he loved when he was a kid,
yeah.
and got some great pictures of him up against some of those cars, and I think you would get a big kick out of
Oh,
that
I
as
would.
well.
I would. Yeah, my dad was a big car guy, and we never had a chance to really enjoy it because I put together a little bit of a car collection. I got really into it, and he was gone, and so he didn't get a chance to see the car thing. He didn't get a chance to see the music thing. So I'm hoping that he's watching it. Got the
I'm
balcony.
sure he is. I'm sure he is. Where can people go to look up you, your shows, maybe even contribute ahead of time to the
Yeah.
fundraising, anything like that? Give viewers where tell them where they can go in New Yorker style, David.
Hey. Well, ironically, this tickets went on sale today for the for the Greek theater. Um, Today they went on sale, so they're available. But and also on our website, you can give to Drive Toward a Cure. Right on our website, there's right on the homepage, you can see the tour page, you can see the Love at the Greek concert, and you can see the Drive Toward a Cure information. So it's right there. And then the tickets, there's about 11 shows already booked for next year. One of them is the Greek Theater, and we're booking more and more and more as time goes on. And we'll be traveling the country. We're going to Missouri. We're going to California. We'll be in Michigan. We'll be in Phoenix. We'll be in Florida.
Oh,
So you never know. We may wind up being in Tennessee or close. You never know. But there's a lot of stuff on the books for us right now that we're waiting to lock up, and it's going to be exciting.
where are you going to play in Phoenix? I grew up there. I've got a lot of viewers there.
I don't know. Oh, is that right? Well, when you said Phoenix, I was going to say that to you. I don't know. There's two places in Phoenix my agent sent to me. One of them was actually a casino. I don't know where exactly that is.
Yeah, that's over on the east side, I
And
think.
then there was another theater
Talking
there.
Sticks, I think, is what it's called.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. And then there was
Yeah,
another theater, which I looked online. It's beautiful. But, we don't really, they ask us not to ever mention the theaters until they're booked because
yeah.
in fact, they won't even let them even put it on the website until it's actually a contract to sign.
Understood.
But
Understood.
however, but yeah, we'll be there. In fact, I have some people from my younger days that follow me and or the band on social media, and they keep saying, "When are you coming to Phoenix? When are you coming to Phoenix?" And I was happy to tell them, keep an eye on it because it's going to happen. Then we're going to be at Little River Casino, I think, which is up in Michigan. We're going to start doing a lot of casinos because it's a great audience for us. And we have a big
Well,
band.
well, right on the other side of the mountain from me here is Cherokee, North Carolina, Harrah's. They have a great venue there. I've seen a lot of concerts there. That one might be a little bigger. I mean, I don't know what limit you go with. I think that it has about, I'm going to guess about 3,000 seats, somewhere about there. Here in Knoxville, there's some smaller venues, 700 seats, and up to 1,600 seats. A
Yeah.
couple of theaters here in Pigeon Forge they're not open right now for some reason. Well, one of them I think they just need to do a lot of repair. The other one is the old Smoky Mountain Opry, and that's 1,500 seats or
Yeah, that's
so.
a sweet
Nice
spot
size
for us.
stage.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
size for us.
yeah.
We kind of are doing anywhere between like 1,100 and 2,000.
Mm,
The Greek Theater is 6,000 seats. That's very bold and aggressive of us. But because of where it is and because it's the anniversary show, I mean, we
yeah.
think hopefully we have some tree people. You
Tree
know,
people. That's right.
that means we
You
sold
know,
out.
if I make it there, I'd probably have to be a tree person. I don't know.
I
I'd
hope.
yell, "Yo, Dave!"
You just go like this to me, or put a flashlight in my eye. Because the tree people
I,
means the show is sold out. That's what it means. So
that's right.
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, David, this is a lot of fun, man. I enjoyed this,
Thank
and listen, let's stay in touch on this stuff because I'm sure you'll be doing other things that we can talk about and help get the word out. And I think we're kind of kindred spirits when it comes to all things Neil and all things of our generation. So
you. Sure.
let's keep the
Yeah,
connection alive. And
absolutely.
I'll be going through Jamie and coordinating when this post. And by golly, if you can get anywhere near, I mean, I'll drive to Nashville to see you
Oh, all right.
if you're playing there. So Nashville, Chattanooga, Atlanta, on up into Kentucky,
Not too
the
far.
Carolinas. There's a lot of great venues there that I'm sure would
Oh, for
love to
sure.
have you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll keep my eyes open, and if I can make it to one of those shows, we'll bump elbows and chat a bit.
I would enjoy that very much. Very much. Thank you. Your voice went out.
There, can you hear me now?
Now I can.
The cord dropped out of my microphone. How embarrassing! Don't let that happen to you on
It's all
stage.
right. No, it's
So
fine. It happened in Indiana.
no way.
It happened in Indiana. One quick story here. At the end of the show, not the end of on I Am, I Said, third song to the end of the show, when we drive, we bring our own back line. When we go traveling airplane, they provide the back line for us, guitars, amps, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
all that stuff, microphones. They didn't put batteries in my wireless mic. And could you believe,
Popped.
right in the middle of I Am, I Said, the most emotional song, my mic goes, I'm singing, singing, singing. It goes dead.
Oh no.
And two things I learned. Number one is always check, even though they were responsible for it, always check the batteries or ask them if they checked them. Number two is always have a know where the other mic is so you can hop on it quickly. My son who plays the keyboards actually gave me his mic. And then the other thing is I know how wonderful people are. The audience actually, when they saw what was happening and they took so long to get the mic, they didn't even change the mic until the end of the song. They should have ran out and given me a new mic, but they weren't on the ball. But anyway, point was is that the audience started cheering and giving me that support as like it's fine,
Very
man.
cool.
So I that was very special, realizing how great people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't happen in New York like that, but it was in Indiana, and they were very nice people. I'm sure it would happen in New York too, but it
I
was
saw I saw something similar happen with Joe Bonamassa. I'm a big Joe
oh,
Bonamassa
he's
fan, and
great, man.
he was towards the end of one of his shows. One of the last times I saw him, he was coming, right at this key point,
Oh no.
doing the power chord thing, and
Oh
the sound to his amp just went out, and he's looking around. He just keeps on playing, being the professional that he is.
yeah.
Somehow or other, they fixed the glitch, come back on. He just shrugged his shoulders like,
It
"Hey, it
happens.
happened."
It happens. are you kidding me? One of the things I have to tell you is that between Frank Sinatra's stories, Bruce Springsteen's stories about things going wrong, forgetting lyrics, being nervous, Frank Sinatra being so scared before he goes on stage for a couple of seconds, which I believe me, you realize everything is okay. It's all fine.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's if that's the worst it ever gets, you're doing
exactly.
pretty darn good. So,
Exactly. Yes, yes. It was
all
nice
right,
to,
David.
yeah.
Likewise, I look forward to talking to you again. It's been fun.
Thank you.
All right, take care.